easiest place to begin, I guess, is to sort of to try and understand something of the nature of the fame that Lost brings to the people in it. It attracts rave reviews in papers like the New York Times, and yet you're also embraced in sort of, you're on the FHM 100 Sexiest Women and the Maxim 100 list. I mean, they're quite strange elements of it. Were you prepared for the sort of fame that this show has brought to your door?
No, not at all. I wasn't prepared for any level or any measure of it, and I think the only one that to me feels remotely worthwhile is the one that would be the New York Times side of it, where people explore this show on an intellectual level. The other side of it is beyond frustrating, because the other side of it I don't believe in, I don't buy into. I think it's a load of crap, and yet in some way I'm heralding it. In some way I'm an ambassador of it. I never wanted to do that. I never signed on with that intention in mind. But everybody knows the byproduct of this industry, and the byproduct of being a woman in this industry, is that you do perpetuate that bizarre and twisted side of it.
You know, when you first met Kate as a character, and now 3 years later, there are so many more layers to her that we have seen as viewers. How much has she changed in your perception from where you thought she was or where she was at the very beginning to suddenly the woman she is at the end of the 3rd season of the show?
She's changed so much, and it's very easy for me to play up the cynical side of it and say, you know, she started the show as a representation of strong femininity, and she is now the piece of ass on the island. I feel like in so many of the ways that I have through this job and through this experience and through the last few years of my life, I have been peeling away my own layers. She has been going through the same thing, where she's been forced to look at herself. She's been forced to face herself and to understand more than anything her limitations and her weaknesses. And anytime you watch somebody who has a tight and tough outer shell dispose of it a little bit, it's, I think, very intriguing.
The island has a particular inclination for pregnant women who either arrive on the island pregnant or fall pregnant while they're on the island. I mean, is this the village of the damned, or is there something in the water on this island?
Don't even go there, because my hope right now, I want Kate to be pregnant. And I want it to go on for long enough that she gets the belly. And I've always been so envious of Claire and Emily that she got to play that role with the baby all the time. But I love that twist in this story recently, the fact that the pregnant women and all these things that have been happening throughout, from the beginning, even when we first met the French woman, Rousseau, and her story with her child, that all of it is starting to come together and be resolved, and you're starting to see that pattern. That's the best thing about our show. We plant seeds and we watch them grow, and they grow over time, and so it's very rewarding when they come to fruition.
The 3rd season finale, it concludes with a twist that in a way tilts the way the audience perhaps will perceive the show, and you're part of that now. People watching this won't have seen that episode, so perhaps without giving too much away, what was going through your mind when you were reading the script for the final episode of the 3rd season? Did you think it was as explosive as it ultimately played out to be?
I had goosebumps from head to toe. I was giddy with excitement. I have not been that excited about the show since the pilot. But as the show went on, and you start to lose that momentum, and you start to feel like the sun is beating down on you, and the wind is becoming a bit stagnant, and you're looking for the new breath in your sails. You know, you're looking for something to kind of stimulate you and make you tingle again. And I think the audience felt the same way. I think the writers felt the same way. But they were hindered by the fact that they didn't know if we were going to be given an end date. And as soon as we were given that end date, boom, they came out with this thing that was going to turn us on our head and send us in another direction, because they know we have 48 episodes and we know what we want to tell you now. Versus, you know, we could potentially have another 300 episodes, and what are we going to tell you? You know, it changes the scenario, and it's satisfying for me as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Finally, do you see a happy ending for Lost, and particularly do you see a happy ending for Kate on the horizon in the long term?
Oh, I asked myself that question after I read the finale this year. I thought, you know, are they going to resolve it in that kind of beautiful fairy tale, and they all lived happily ever after? I can't imagine it. With our show, the nature of our show, and the raw reality of our show, the poignance of everything they're trying to tell you, the dichotomy of every message that you see on our show, I doubt it. I think that Kate's story will go on unresolved in our hearts and minds for the rest of our lives.